Olivia Bennet stood beneath a white flower arch at Willow Creek Country Club, smoothing the skirt of the simplest wedding dress in the room. She had found it on the clearance rack at David's Bridal for just under $400. It wasn't designer. It didn't have hand-sewn lace or crystal beading. It was a clean A-line dress that fit perfectly after a few alterations she had sewn herself. She loved it. Across from her stood Marcus Hayes in a custom Italian suit that cost more than the monthly rent on the apartment they had once shared. Marcus had spent the entire morning worrying about appearances. Were the floral arrangements expensive enough? Did the photographer know which side was his best angle? Would Edward Morrison, the managing director of one of the biggest private equity firms in Chicago, be impressed? Olivia hadn't cared about any of that. She only cared that after 6 years together, they had finally made it here. As the officiant smiled and opened the ceremony, Olivia's mind drifted through the years that had brought them to this moment. She remembered Marcus at 24, sleeping on a second-hand futon while working an unpaid investment internship. She remembered waking at 3 every morning to bake croissants and custom cakes for local coffee shops before opening the bakery kitchen where she worked. She remembered paying Marcus's rent when he couldn't, buying his first interview suits because his only blazer had holes in the sleeves, sending him grocery money through Zelle every Friday because he refused to ask his parents for help. When Marcus finally landed his analyst position, she celebrated harder than he did. She believed they were building a future together. The officiant smiled warmly. "Marcus, do you take Olivia to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Marcus never answered. Instead, he raised one hand. "Actually, I'd like to say something first." A nervous laugh rippled through the guests. Olivia smiled uncertainly. Maybe he'd prepared surprise vows. Marcus turned toward the audience instead. His voice became strangely formal. "I've spent the last year growing professionally." Edward and several executives from the firm watched with polite curiosity. "My life has changed dramatically," Marcus continued. Olivia felt something tighten in her stomach. Marcus looked directly at her. "You're a sweet girl, Olivia." The word girl landed like an insult. "But you're too basic for where my life is heading." Silence settled over the ballroom. Marcus continued as if he were delivering a quarterly presentation. "I'm moving into high-net-worth circles now. My colleagues vacation in Aspen. They invest in startups. They attend charity galas. You clip grocery store coupons. You spend your weekends decorating birthday cakes. You're a baker. We're from completely different worlds." Gasps spread across the room. Someone dropped a champagne glass. Marcus wasn't finished. "I can't build the future I want while pretending we still belong together. So no. I won't be saying I do." For several endless seconds nobody moved. Olivia stared at him. She expected tears, shock, anger. Instead, she felt something much quieter. Relief. Like she'd been carrying a suitcase filled with bricks, and someone had finally taken it away. Slowly, she reached behind her head, removed her veil, and placed it carefully into the hands of her best friend Sarah. Sarah's eyes were already full of tears. Olivia squeezed her hand gently. "It's okay." Then she faced her family. "We're leaving." Her father stepped forward immediately. "So are we." Without raising her voice, without insulting Marcus, without begging, and without crying, Olivia picked up the front of her dress and walked down the aisle. Her parents followed. Her brothers followed. Her grandparents followed. Nearly half the guests quietly stood and walked out behind her. Marcus remained frozen beneath the flower arch with his expensive suit, his wealthy co-workers, and the silence he'd created. Outside, Sarah finally caught up. "I swear if you tell me to stay calm, I'm going back in there." Olivia actually laughed. "No. I'm done." Sarah stared at her. "That's it." Olivia looked back once at the ballroom doors. "He spent years showing me who he was. I was just too busy helping him to notice. If you were in my shoes at that altar, would you have kept your composure or caused a scene right then and there? Let me know in the comments." An hour later, Marcus climbed into his leased BMW 4 Series feeling strangely powerful. Sure, the wedding had been uncomfortable, but Edward had seen him make what Marcus believed was a difficult executive decision. Successful people didn't let emotions interfere with ambition. His phone connected through Bluetooth. "Edward Morrison." "Perfect. Marcus answered with confidence. Edward. I appreciate you calling. Edward didn't waste a second. Marcus, what the hell was that? Marcus frowned. I'm sorry. You humiliated the woman who financially supported you for 3 years. Marcus blinked. I simply explained that our lifestyles no longer matched. No. Edward's voice became colder than ice. You showed every employee sitting in that room exactly who you are. You betrayed the person who built your career just to impress people with money. If you'll publicly destroy the woman who paid your rent just to flex in front of executives, you'll sell out this firm the first time it benefits you. Marcus's heartbeat accelerated. Edward, this is personal. It became professional the second 50 wedding guests started posting videos online. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Clients have already seen the footage. So has HR. Don't come in Monday. Your building access has already been revoked. HR will overnight the separation paperwork. The line went dead. Marcus kept driving in complete silence, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. No. He immediately called Edward back. Straight to voicemail. He called his manager. No answer. Then his phone exploded with notifications from coworkers. Dude, HR just disabled your account. The wedding video is everywhere. Is this real? Marcus's breathing became shallow. He glanced down for only a second to check another message. That second was enough. Traffic ahead had slowed, and a commercial flatbed truck stopped at a red light. Marcus looked up too late. The BMW slammed into the back of the truck with a violent crash. Airbags exploded, glass shattered, and the front of the luxury coupe folded like aluminum foil. When the police and tow truck arrived, Marcus pulled out his insurance app with shaking fingers. He called his provider, only for the representative to drop the final blow. Sir, you don't have collision coverage, only basic liability. And your gap insurance was canceled 6 months ago. Marcus closed his eyes in horror. He had canceled both policies to save $150 a month for custom suits and watches. Now he owed more than $45,000 on a destroyed leased BMW. With no job, no bonus, and no income. If you love stories where arrogant exes get exactly what they deserve, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button. Meanwhile, Olivia sat inside a quiet neighborhood diner wearing jeans and one of Marcus's old hoodies. She wrapped both hands around a mug of hot tea, finally feeling like she could breathe. Sarah slid into the booth carrying 2 slices of pie, but before they could eat, Sarah's phone rang. Within seconds, her eyes went wide. No way. Sarah hung up and stared across the table before bursting into laughter. You are never going to believe this. Marcus got fired 30 minutes after you left. Olivia blinked. What? And then, Sarah leaned in. He crashed his shiny BMW. And he skipped collision insurance to save money for suits. He's completely ruined. Olivia slowly leaned back in the booth. She didn't celebrate. She simply let out a long breath. I don't hate him, she said quietly. I just don't want to carry him anymore. 1 year later, a small shop called Simply Sweet Artisan Bakery had become one of the busiest bakeries in the neighborhood. Every morning there was a line out the door for sourdough, croissants, and custom desserts. Olivia had built the business herself. No investors, no shortcuts, just skill and hard work. Behind the counter worked Alex, a former Army logistics officer who now owned a local delivery company. He wasn't flashy or obsessed with status, but he was grounded and utterly reliable. When an oven broke, he fixed it. When deliveries were delayed, he solved it. He showed up every single day with consistency, honesty, and respect. Around lunchtime, Olivia stepped outside to grab some fresh air. Across the busy street at a city bus stop, a man stood alone beneath the shelter. His navy suit was faded, the elbows were shiny, and his shoes needed polishing. He clutched a paper cup of cheap gas station coffee while frantically tapping on an old phone with a cracked screen, clearly overwhelmed by collection notices and a ruined credit score. It was Marcus. He looked up and for a brief second, their eyes met across 4 lanes of traffic. He looked exhausted, aged by the stress of his own arrogance. Olivia watched him for one quiet moment. There was no anger inside her, no desire for revenge, and no satisfaction. Just distance. Alex opened the bakery door behind her. Hey Olivia. We just got another custom cake order. Olivia turned back with a warm smile. I'll be right there. She gave Marcus one last, polite nod, then walked back inside into the warmth of her own success. Marcus had spent years chasing the appearance of status, while Olivia had quietly built the real thing. Sometimes the greatest gift life can give you is having the wrong person reject you before it's too late. Do you think 1 hour was fast enough for karma? Or did Marcus get off too easy? Drop your thoughts below.